Hi, this is a continuation of my series called The Cling or the Clot. And when I do the Muslims, I'll be using this side of my face. Use mine, I'll be using this side. Okay, here goes. The Israelis hate you guys. Since the majority of us seem to have re-elected a blamer, hey, I don't blame them. And they wouldn't tell you that. You know, I don't care if they hate me. As a matter of fact, I don't care if Muslims hate me. Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do. As people, not as a religion, they have suffered a lot from you. Hey, I didn't vote for a blamer. And they have good hate memory. What I do to them, the Israelis. Our struggle with them and the animosity is not like them hating you. Because I never shot missiles at them from the very territory Gaza they traded for peace. We and them had tribal wars, and this is a political rivalry between two cousins on a piece of land. That's what Muslims say. A little do people realize it, though. It's because Muslims believe anything not under Islamic territorial control, Dar al-Islam, is the abode of war, the house of war, Dar al-Harb. And Israel is right in the middle of what Muslims believe to be Dar al-Islam. Or actually Dar al-Harb, because, it's right in the middle of Dar al-Islam, to the point where Muslims fulfill that first part of Psalm 83 daily. Since Israel's there, it's considered Dar al-Harb, the abode of war. Because Israel keeps it from being under Islamic territorial control. We hate each other openly. Do the Jews of Israel make Jewish Mickey Mouses, brainwashing their little children into believing Muslims are the killers of the women's and the children's, and dying in the cause of Adonai is the highest level one can achieve? Be truthful, O slave of the best of deceivers. But they hate you more, and make war to your livelihood. Jews hate me more? Israelis hate me more? If so, it's not a very good war, for the Kaaba still stands untouched by Israeli cruise missiles, which could be filled with American pig duty. Do you know the Fed Reserve is a private company who print money for your debts? Hey, America is so screwed up, I could almost believe any accusation tossed at it. I do have a hard time believing mechanical Zionist Jewish robots dressed as Muslims and programmed by a diabolical genius, George Bush, flew planes into buildings to make Islamic evil, especially since Bush would defeat such a purpose by saying Islam is a religion of peace, and that America will never be at war with Islam. Believe it or not, I actually believe Bush on the latter. I think he's telling the truth. America will never be at war with Islam. Isn't that nice? If you kill, then you are not hanged and taken to jail. Instead, you are rewarded with beautiful black-eyed virgins. Oh, you don't believe that? That's a good bargain, don't you think? I can see how it might get you thinking with another head, so you carry out for Allah, unless you lack a sex drive, you know. See, God is generous to ask Him to give you blue-eyed virgin if you don't prefer black-eyed ones. How about if you just live with the belief that God could could create the universe in a day, could give could give you any kind of virgin to worship God with knowing that God shall be all in all, and that there will probably be something far greater than having a perpetual erection while beautiful chaste virginal boys, quote, feed you grapes. I mean, that believing heaven is something far more than what Allah promises. Muhammad promises, with these with boys and stuff. If you don't like child but you say, ask him to give you slim-bodied model like a virgin. No, I like girls with big butts, but not as big as I can go camping inside. Jesus said, you have nothing. Oh, Jews said, you have nothing. They just haven't had a BLT yet. And the first Quran, verse 5:46, confirms that you should follow the Torah. Not when I also have to obey Quran 5:68, which lets me know that I used to that I use Christ to follow the Torah for me. The law of Allah. The infidel also is a revised copy of the Torah. How do you know if there is no Torah and Injil now? And it is guidance and advice for the believers. Well, my Injil says it is by grace that you are saved through faith and not of yourselves. It is a gift, it is a free gift of God. It also said we love God for God first loved us. But everything now is lost, and that is my point. If so, then how come Quran 2:106 that deals with abrogation never kicked in to have Allah change and substitute Quran 5:68 from, quote, you have no ground to stand upon unless you stand firm upon the Injil, to don't stand firm upon the Injil, we beg thee. Our book given to Isa has become lost, and what is left of it now says Isa is our son, and that Isa did die on the cross, so you don't have to worship us 5 times a day. We beg thee, don't stand firm upon the Injil, for thou will go to an eternal fire if thou believe that what the Injil now teaches. Stay away, O slave of us, stay away, and please ignore Quran 10:94, O slaves of us. Ignore it. Don't go to those who have read our before scriptures, the Bible. It says the land belongs to the Jews, and that Israel will one day be reconstituted with Jews in Dar al-Islam. Impossible. How come Quran 5:68 wasn't abrogated? Didn't Al know that the Injil and the Torah would become lost, even though there are the Dead Sea Scrolls that show no change in the Torah of back then with the Torah in Old Testament of today? You know, didn't Al realize that? Hey, I'm really tired. You sure? Could we take 3 days off? Ceasefire, truce? Sure, if you want. Hey, wait a minute. There aren't any sacred months ending today allowing you to break whatever truce or treaty with me, are there? See Quran 9, 1-5, and Quran 9:1. That allows Muslims to dissolve peace treaties, especially after sacred months are passed, huh? It is also good for both of us to bring more subjects to discuss here. Good. We are friends, no enemies. Remember that well. Quran 3:28, Quran 5:51. We just discuss scientific religious subjects. And it is alright to tease or pinch a little bit, but I would like to stress that Islam has never forbidden a Muslim from making friendship with any human. True, if that Muslim really doesn't mean to be friends by guarding against non-Muslims, see Quran 3:28. So the Muslim isn't cut off from Allah. The only prohibition is marriage with non-heavenly religions. I take it you aren't a Christian. I take it you aren't into Chrislam. Yeah, me neither. Our mentor and guide should be Muslims, that's all. Let's see if that's true with Quran 3:28 now. Okay, this is Muhammad Asad. Let not the believers take those who deny the truth for their allies in preference to the believers, since he who does this cuts himself off from God in everything, unless it is to protect yourselves against them in this way. In other words, not really mean it. But God warns you to beware of him, for with God is all journeys in. If so, what happened to martyrdom that the stuff right before eliminate did the need for? You know what I mean? Anyway, this is Pictel now. Pictel says, "Let not the believers that let not the believers take disbelievers for their friends, in preference to believers. Whoso doeth that hath no connection with Allah, unless it be that ye but guard yourselves against them." In other words, not really be friends, taking as it were security. Does that make sense? Allah biddeth you beware only of himself until Allah is the journey. If so, what happened again? What happened to martyrdom that the stuff right before eliminates the need for? You know. Okay, Shakir says, "Let not the believers take the unbelievers with friends, rather than believers. And whoever does this, he shall have nothing of the guardianship of Allah. But you should guard yourselves against them, guarding carefully. And Allah makes you cautious of retribution from himself, and to Allah is the eventual coming." And then there is Yusuf Ali, Saudi revision 1985 says, "Let not the believers take for friends, for helpers unbelievers rather than believers. If they do, in nothing will there be from Allah except the way of precaution that ye may guard yourselves from them." In other words, not really mean to be their friends, no doubt. Creepy. But Allah cautions to remember himself, for the final goal is Allah. And then there's the Yusuf Ali original 1938 that says, "Let not the believers take for friends or helpers unbelievers rather than believers. If any do that, in nothing will there be help from God except the way of precaution that ye may guard yourselves from them, but God cautions you." It said God back then, and that was back in the 30s. Okay, then Dr. Layla Bakhtiar. "Let not the believers who believe take to themselves the ones who are ungrateful for protectors." Now that sounds bid'ah-ish, if you ask me. "Instead of the ones who believe, and whosoever accomplishes that is not with God is not with God in anything, unless it is because you are God-fearing that you are being cautious towards them." Wahiduddin Khan said, "Let not the believers take those who deny the truth for their allies. In preference to the believers, say anyone who does that will isolate himself completely from God, unless it is to protect yourselves against them in this way." T.B. Irving says, "Believers should not enlist disbelievers as patrons in preference to other believers. Anyone who does so will have nothing to do with God, so you should be precautious. You should take precautions against them." Al-Muntaghab said, "Belief is incompatible with disbelief. Belief is incompatible with disbelief. Therefore, let those whose hearts have been touched by the divine hand refrain from favoring those infidels who deny Allah over their companions in religion. He who follows this irreverent course of action, Allah shall renounce, except under compelling circumstances." In other words, if you feel like your life's in danger or something like that. "Then exercise caution beforehand to provide against their mischief." Whatever it is, like maybe exposing Islam. "Allah cautions you to not come within the measure of his wrath." A progressive Muslim says, "Let not the believers take the rejectors as allies instead of the believers, and whoever does so will have nothing with God. For you to be cautious of them as they deserve." Abdel Halim says, "The believers should not take the disbelievers, their allies, rather than take believers. Anyone who does such a thing will isolate himself completely from God, except when you need to protect yourselves from them." Does that make sense? Take them as allies, but not really? Lying, then, doesn't seem. I think I'll end it here. Yeah.